In this question, you're required to find the total surface area of the pyramid. Now, the first thing to note is the shape of the base. LM is 8, so this is 8, and MN is 6, so this is 6, and the height of the pyramid is 7, number here, right? So the problem you got now is this has a rectangular base, which means you have two slant heights. So you're going to have a slant height down to here and also down to here. Okay, so we'll join them to the center in this direction. And for this one, we'll come down to here. Now, if this is 8, this length here will be 4, half of 8. If this length is 6, this length here must be 3. Okay, so let's call this L1, and let's call this slant length L2. So we're going to have 7 squared plus 4 squared equals L squared. So 7 squared is 49 plus 4 squared 16 equals L squared. So what does that give us? 40, 50, 65. So L squared is 65. So the length L is root 65. We need that for later. And for L2, we're going to have 7 squared plus 3 squared equals L squared. So we're going to have 7 squared plus 3 squared. So we've got 49 plus 9, which is L squared. And 49 plus 9 is 58. So L2, the length L2 is root 58. This is L1. So we can do your base area. Which is 8 times 6. So 6 eighths are 48 cm squared. But now we need the lateral area. So we can do L1 first. So this base here. And we have 2 of those on this side and also on the other side. So we're going to have 2 because we have 2 faces. And the area of this triangle in green is half times the base, which is 6, times the slant height, L1, which was root 65, plus the front face here in purple. So this face here. Okay, so that would be 2 times a half times the base, which is 8, times the slant height, which is the height of the triangle, L2, which is root 58. And if you add those 2 numbers up, you're going to get 109.3 cm squared. So this is your lateral area. This is your base area. So the total area, total surface area, TSA, 109.3 plus 48. And that will give you 157.3 cm squared for the total area of the pyramid. In question 3, we want to find both the volume and the total surface area of this solid here. So you'll note we have a cone and a hemisphere. So when we do the volume, so let's do the volume of the cone. And the formula for that is 1/3 base area times the height, So that's 1/3 times the base area. Notice here that the radius is 9 centimeters for the radius. We need that. So that's pi r squared times the height, 12.4. So that will give you 1051.81 cm squared for the volume of the cone. Now for the volume of the hemisphere, remember it is half of a sphere. The sphere is 4 on 3 pi r cubed. Divide that by 2. You'll get 2 on 3 pi r cubed as your formula you can use. Okay, so that's 2/3 times pi times r cubed. R is 9, the 9 cubed. So the volume of the hemisphere is 1526.81 cm cubed. Okay, so we've got our cone here and we've got our hemisphere. So we add those two numbers. So the total volume is the sum of those two numbers, which is 2578.62 cm cubed. Okay, so that's the volume of the solid. In part B, we need to find the total surface area. Okay, so one thing to note, that this circle inside the solid is not part of your total area. This is a hidden face. Okay, so let's write that hidden face. So if you were to hold this solid in your hand, you can't touch that yellow circle. So we don't include that in the area. Now we will need our slant length, L, and that would be equal to the square root of 12.4 squared plus 9 squared. And that will give us 15.32 cm. We need that for the curved area of the cone. So for your cone surface area, it's only pi RL. Okay, we don't include this pi r squared base here. That's pi r, and the radius is 9 times 15.32. And that gives us 433.16 cm squared. That's the cone part. Now we have a hemisphere in the base here. So remember, a sphere is 4 pi r squared. But a hemisphere is half of that. So we divide by 2. So it's 2 pi r squared. So that gives us 2 pi 9 squared. And that gives us an area of 508.94 cm squared. So we have two numbers there. We have the cone. That's your cone area. And that's your hemisphere area. And when we add those two numbers up, we get a total surface area of 942.1. And that's your total area of the solid.